You say, sometimes I wonder how much pain and suffering exist in the world simply because we don't know how to be wrong.
Oh, I mean, that goes for individual things and challenges, right? As well as for the bigger picture stuff in our world. We just tend to hold on so tightly to everything that we worked hard for. And this again goes back to psychology and how our brains work. The more we invest into something, if that's time or money or energy, the harder we hold on to it. If you have a really good degree and you spent years studying and
Mhm.
then more years practicing what you just learned, it is hard to change and it's hard to even question what you know. And so I think that is another big danger that we're facing today. It's our own stubbornness. And I think it also is worth recognizing and pointing to that as humans, as a species, when we're faced with uncertainty, which climate change really provides us is
Yeah,
uncertainty. We don't know anything. Like the weather is weird. We were just talking about how hot it is in October. And so like things are changing, everything's changing, and that provides a lot of uncertainty. What is going to happen to our jobs and our economy? And slam some AI on top of that, and people are
right.
freaking out, right? And in these times of uncertainty, we tend to actually hold on tighter to everything that we know to be true. And so that again comes back to what is actually the challenge that we're facing. It is for us to start finding some courage to maybe accept that when it comes to a lot of things, we have been wrong, or at least it isn't working anymore. And so we have to move on from that. And then we have to find the courage to question and think again, to find something new and something better. But yeah, I have an exercise that I mentioned in the book called retruthing, which just helps you practice what does it
Okay.
mean to be wrong. Sorry, am I getting ahead of myself?
No, that was the next question was going to ask you about retruthing. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so retruthing is, I'm a Swede, by the way, for anyone who hasn't picked that up yet, but I'm born and raised in Sweden and English is not my native language. So as I've gotten a little better over the years, I've also many times just kind of plopped in some words that aren't quite supposed to be words. And one word that I made up was retruthing, but I stuck with it because I couldn't find a better word to use for what I'm trying to say. And so retruthing just means changing the truths that you live by. And I call them truths, and they're all individual and personal to us, and they have been coded by whatever we have gone through up until this moment. And again, back to the brain and how we're operating, about 95% of our time we're acting from our subconscious mind, meaning we're not even paying attention to what we do or why we're doing
Okay.
these things. And so for me, that practice of retruthing is just becoming more aware of the things you do, the things you say, the way you react when people say certain things, the way you react when your partner is annoying or whatever. And then just like catch yourself and say, why am I acting this way? Where might this be coming from? And do a little bit of investigating into yourself and your own life. And yes, it's uncomfortable because you're like pulling the blinds on yourself. But that is when you also empower yourself because you allow yourself to recognize that I'm not the person doing these things. I am me and I'm doing certain things and many times out of habit. And because of that, I can change the things I do and then continue to become someone new and someone who does different things. And so you release yourself to that identity, so to speak, like, oh, I am someone who always have to eat meat, or I
Mhm.
can't dance, I can't sing, I'm not brave, I'm shy. And like, well, are you, or have you just always lived that way? And so
Mhm.
retruthing is about looking at what do you do, why are you doing these things, and then just kind of ask yourself, how could my life be different if I retruthed myself a little bit? So I always give the example about change because I used to hate change when I was little. My mama said this, I was really hard to have around because I wanted things to always be the same, no matter what. And so for me, I had to retruth the whole notion of change. And so instead of change being uncertain and scary and could potentially lead to awful things, change can be exciting and it can maybe lead to new things I've never even thought about. And maybe if I dare to try something different, I might find myself in an even better life than what I've known so far. And so, you can find something that you can understand that this is my truth and I've been living by this truth. And now I'm trying to retruth it into something
Mhm.
different. And how is that going to open up a whole new door to a new kind of life and a new kind of world?